My first guest this hour is Congressman Joaquin Castro. The Texas Democrat just led a congressional delegation on a tour of the Carrizo Springs office of refugee resettlement in Texas, where migrant children and migrant families are being held as they await their day in court. In just a moment, we'll talk to the congressman about what he witnessed inside that facility and at the border, and we'll discuss how we as a country can do right by those seeking refuge and a better life here in the United States. But we can't talk about progress without talking about what's held us back from progress for decades. In fact, this week gave us a full smattering of many of the challenges that this country is currently up against, and how it remains politically impossible to address these issues, all because one political party's refusal to face hard truths, relying on fear to win and sideshows in place of legislating. Case in point, Georgia's brand new law targeting voting rights. Many call it Jim Crow 2.0, and for good reason. Restricting voting access and making kindness illegal, banning water and food from being handed to voters standing in line to vote. Make no mistake, the bill is a clear response to Democrats winning big in 2020 when they took the presidency and both of Georgia's Senate seats. So, to prevent it from happening again, the state's GOP, partially inspired by getting back into Trump's good graces, used their power this week to strip away the voting rights of the very people who elected them. And then there's gun safety, the need for reform laid bare once again by two massacres this month. More than 20 Americans from Georgia to Colorado lost to senseless violence. And within hours, Republicans like Texas Governor Greg Abbott used their deaths to revive the party's tried and true scare tactic on guns. Democrats are coming to take them away. We know that that is a lie, which brings us back to Texas, where another big lie was spread even further this week. As Congressman Castro led his delegation Friday, this was Texas Senator Ted Cruz leading his own delegation on a tour of the border. Not focused on finding solutions, instead focused on furthering fear, using bulletproof vests and more to spread the perception that our southern border is unsafe, is dangerous. Cruz and the delegation in political cosplay. It might be funny in its sheer ridiculousness if thousands of migrant families and their family members within the United States were not desperately looking to Congress for relief and solutions. So with all that gaslighting, tonight's great big question: how do you cut through those lies so we can finally move forward? Let's bring in Texas Congressman Joaquin Castro. Congressman, thank you for being with us tonight. First, I want you to tell us about your visit to the Carrizo Springs facility.
Well, we took a congressional delegation there to make sure that the kids are being treated humanely and they're being respected, that their dignity is being respected. And the Biden administration is dealing with a system that was at least partially dismantled by Donald Trump to both process and settle asylum seekers in the United States. So their challenge is to build up capacity to humanely house people while they get them to their family sponsors. And so we were going to make sure that those kids are doing okay. And what we saw were 13, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, many of whom made a very dangerous trek all alone, or perhaps with other family members, but they presented themselves at the border by themselves. So they're unaccompanied minors.
And your sense of those facilities, Congressman?
They're better facilities than the CBP processing centers. The CBP processing centers is where we've seen people sleeping with what look like aluminum blankets in very cramped, unsanitary conditions. So they're better facilities than that. They're still very Spartan, but they're not the right places for these kids. These kids need to be moved with their family and relative sponsors while they wait for their day in court for their cases to be considered.
So in light of what you saw, what are the recommendations that you're going to be bringing back to the Biden administration about what you would like to see them do next?
We spoke with the leadership of that facility who offered some great recommendations that I actually agree with. First, we have to reimagine and actually redo how we hold people temporarily once they present themselves for asylum at the border. So, for example, I don't think that we should be holding people in these CBP facilities any longer. They were not built for this purpose at all. And having a lot of people packed in there, especially during the time of a pandemic, is quite dangerous. And so the administration has a real opportunity once and for all to change the way that we, quote unquote, intake people when they're seeking asylum. That's the most immediate short-term thing, is treating people humanely by putting them in a different space, but then doing other things to speed up the location of relatives and family sponsors, to speed up the process by which they get background checks and become fingerprinted so that the kids can go over and stay with them while they wait for their court cases. So we'll have a chance to talk about all of that in the House of Representatives and also with the Biden administration when we get back to Washington.
Congressman, there is just no question that the border is constantly politicized. Case in point, you had Senate Republicans in bulletproof vests touring the Rio Grande with armed Border Patrol agents yesterday. I'm not even going to play you the sound of what they said because most of it is absolute rubbish. But I want to know at this point, are there Republicans who are coming to the table with solutions to address what is really happening at our southern border?
So far, no, I don't think so. You know, that's not to say that they won't in the next few months or the next year or something. There's certainly that opportunity for them. But right now, what I see the Republican Party doing is trying to figure out what their big issue is going to be for the 2020 elections. So, for example, during President Obama's first term, their big issue became Obamacare. And they ran the 2010 elections very effectively, the midterm election, against Obamacare. And so they're trying to figure out what it's going to be. And right now, you can see them trying to figure out how big an issue this immigration issue is going to be, how many people's fears they can play upon, how much resentment they can engender among the American people, particularly among white Americans, to convince white Americans that there's a bunch of brown people that are coming here to harm them. And so right now, I don't think they're coming up with solutions. I think they're trying to figure out how they can use this as a political issue. I hope that that changes.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.